90% of startups fail. But here is what nobody tells you. It is almost never because the founders weren't smart enough, or didn't work hard enough, or ran out of money first. They fail because they built something nobody wanted. Today, I'm going to show you the single most important concept in startup history. The one that separates companies worth billions from ones that die quietly. And the exact blueprint the most successful founders use to find it. Chapter 1. The Myth of the Overnight Success. We have a problem with how we tell startup stories. We celebrate the moment a company explodes, the funding round, the viral launch, the billion-dollar valuation. We put founders on magazine covers and talk about their genius. But we almost never talk about the years of grinding, failing, pivoting, and almost quitting that came before that moment. Every overnight success you have ever heard of is actually a 10-year story compressed into a headline. The polished version strips out all the ugly parts, the product launches that flopped, the customers who churned immediately, the investors who passed, the co-founders who left. What remains looks like a clean, inevitable line from idea to empire. But that is not how it works. The founders who built the most valuable companies in the world didn't have a secret shortcut. They had something far more valuable, a framework for learning, a systematic way of figuring out what the market actually wants, not just what they assumed it wanted. That framework has a name. It is called product market fit. Chapter 2. What product market fit really is and isn't. Mark Andreessen, the legendary venture capitalist who co-founded Netscape and backed companies like Facebook, Airbnb, and Twitter, first coined the term product market fit in 2007. He defined it simply: being in a good market with a product that can satisfy that market. But that definition is almost too clean. Here is the way I think about it. Product market fit is the moment when the market pulls your product from you rather than you pushing it onto the market. It is the difference between fighting for every single customer and struggling to keep up with demand. You know you don't have product market fit when your sales cycle feels like pulling teeth, when customers sign up and then disappear, when you have to constantly explain why your product matters, when your churn rate is high and your net promoter score is low. You know you do have product market fit when your customer acquisition costs start dropping because word of mouth kicks in. When your retention metrics look strong. When customers start recommending your product without you asking them to. When you are hiring engineers as fast as you can because you can't keep up with demand. And here is the brutal truth. Most founders think they have it when they don't. They mistake early enthusiasm for product market fit. They mistake a few paying customers for product market fit. They mistake a good launch week for product market fit. Real product market fit is durable. It compounds. It shows up in the data week after week, month after month. Chapter 3. The Airbnb near-death story. From $200 a week to $70 billion. In 2008, Brian Chesky and Joe Gebbia were so broke they couldn't pay rent in San Francisco. Their idea, renting out air mattresses in their apartment to conference attendees, had generated almost no traction. They had a handful of users, almost no revenue, and investors thought the idea was absurd. Then they got accepted into Y Combinator, the most prestigious startup accelerator in the world. Paul Graham, the founder of Y Combinator, saw something. The founders were going to the homes of their existing users in New York. They were taking professional photos, improving listings, talking to hosts face-to-face. And the data in New York was much better than everywhere else. Graham told them something that changed everything. Go to your users, not just online. Physically, go to them. Be in the room with them. Feel their frustrations. Understand what they actually need. And here is the part nobody talks about. To fund themselves while they iterated, Chesky and Gebbia created novelty breakfast cereals, Obama O's and Cap'n McCain's during the 2008 election. They sold 1,000 boxes at $40 each and raised $40,000. It was ridiculous. It was desperate, and it kept the company alive long enough to find the thing that actually worked. By the time Airbnb found product-market fit, people actually pulling the service because they needed affordable places to stay and ways to make extra income, they had been at it for over 2 years. Today, Airbnb is valued at over $70 billion. Two guys with air mattresses who almost couldn't pay rent. Chapter 4. The Slack Accident. How a failed video game became a $27 billion company. Stuart Butterfield had already failed once before Slack. His first company, Ludicorp, built a photo-sharing feature inside a multiplayer online game called Game Never Ending. The game failed, but the photo-sharing tool became Flickr, which Yahoo acquired for tens of millions of dollars. So when Butterfield started his second company, he thought he knew what he was doing. He raised millions to build a massively multiplayer online game called Glitch. It was ambitious. It was beautiful. And in 2012, after years of development and over $10 million spent, it completely and utterly failed. But something interesting had happened during Glitch's development. The team had built an internal messaging tool to help them communicate across different time zones. And when Glitch shut down, Butterfield noticed something. His team members, people who had just lost their jobs, didn't want to stop using the internal chat tool. Think about that. They had just gone through a brutal company failure, and they were mourning the loss of an internal productivity tool. That is a signal. Butterfield recognized it immediately. That was product-market fit. Not for the game, for the tool. He pivoted, raised new funding, launched Slack in August 2013, and within 24 hours had 8,000 companies sign up. Within 2 weeks, that number was 30,000. Salesforce acquired Slack in 2021 for $27.7 billion. All because a failed game left behind a tool that people pulled toward themselves. Chapter 5. The 3 warning signs you don't have product-market fit. Most founders know something is wrong before they are willing to admit it. Here are the 3 warning signs that your product has not found its market yet, and that you need to go back and do the hard work of finding fit before scaling. Warning sign number 1. You are working too hard to keep customers. This is the most overlooked signal in startups. When customers don't stay without constant attention, when your churn rate is climbing, when you are spending more time trying to convince people to keep using your product than building it, that is the market telling you something. Retention is the heartbeat of product-market fit. If it is weak, nothing else matters. Warning sign number 2. You are selling features, not solving a problem. When you are in a sales call and you find yourself listing features, explaining how the product works, describing the interface, you have lost the battle before it started. Customers who have a real, painful problem they need solved will ask you one question: can this fix my problem? If they are not asking that, they don't have the problem. And if they don't have the problem, you don't have product-market fit. Warning sign number 3. Your champions can't evangelize you. The true test of product-market fit is not whether your customers like your product. It is whether they talk about it unprompted to their friends, colleagues, and network. Word of mouth is the organic engine of fit. If your best customers can't explain why they love your product in one sentence, you don't have fit yet. You have a product in search of a market. Chapter 6. The framework for finding product-market fit. The Build, Measure, Learn loop. Eric Ries, in his groundbreaking book, The Lean Startup, introduced the most important operational framework for finding product-market fit. The Build, Measure, Learn loop. The idea is deceptively simple. Instead of spending months or years building your perfect product before showing it to anyone, you build the smallest possible version of your idea, put it in front of real customers, measure what they actually do, not what they say they will do, and then use that data to decide what to build next. Here is how the best founders use this framework. Step 1. Form a hypothesis. Not just I think people want this feature, a specific, testable hypothesis. I believe that freelance designers spend more than 3 hours per week on client invoicing, and they would pay $20 a month to cut that to 30 minutes. Specific, measurable, falsifiable. Step 2. Build the minimum viable product, not the beautiful version, not the version with all the features. The smallest thing that lets you test the hypothesis. Sometimes that is a landing page. Sometimes it is a spreadsheet pretending to be software. Sometimes, like Airbnb, it is you physically going to your customers. Step 3. Measure ruthlessly. Look at the data that doesn't lie. Retention, daily active users, time spent in product, net promoter score, revenue per customer, churn. These are your vital signs. Step 4. Learn and pivot or persevere. Did the data confirm your hypothesis? Great. Double down. Did it contradict it? That is even better. That is the market teaching you something valuable before you waste years building the wrong thing. The founders who find product market fit fastest are not the ones with the best ideas. They are the ones who run the loop fastest, who turn feedback into action before their competitors even know what questions to ask. Product market fit is not a destination. It is a discipline. It is a systematic commitment to understanding your customer more deeply than they understand themselves, to building in small iterations, measuring honestly, and having the courage to throw away months of work when the data tells you to. Airbnb found it after years of near failure. Slack found it by accident inside a failed game. Every billion-dollar company you have ever heard of went through this same painful, clarifying process. The blueprint is not secret. Now you have it. The only question is whether you will use it. If this gave you something valuable today, subscribe to Founder Fuel. We break down the real strategies behind billion-dollar companies every week. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. And if you are a founder right now, drop a comment below. Where are you in the product market fit journey? We read every single one.